तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपा साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथं तं सजीवं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचना गौरंगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभय एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। कृष्ण। Thank you everyone for joining. Please, I need your blessings so that I can speak something on the subject matter of Bhagavad Gita as it is. So let me quickly share my screen. Okay, so as all of us know that we have started a new chapter called the Most Confidential Knowledge, chapter 9 of Bhagavad Gita, and Prabhu has nicely explained the about the overview of the chapter and also covered the first verse. So now we'll be covering verse second. Please repeat if you like. Rajavidya Rajaguhyam
Rajavidya Rajaguhyam
Pavitramidamuttamam
Pavitramidamuttamam
Pratyakshavangamam Dharmayam
Yakshavagamam Dharmyam
Susukham Kartumavayam.
Susukham Kartum Avyayam.
Rajavidya Rajaguhyam
Rajavidya Rajaguhyam
Pavitramidamuttamam
Pavitramidamuttamam
Pratyakshavangamam Dharmayam
Pratyaksha Avagamam Dharmyam
Susukham Kartumavayam.
Susukham Kartum Avyayam.
Rajavidya Rajaguhyam
Rajavidya Rajaguhyam
Pavitramidamuttamam
Pavitramidamuttamam
Pratikshavagamam Dharmayam
Pratyaksha Avagamam Dharmyam
Susukham Kartumavayam.
Susukham Kartum Avyayam.
Anybody want to recite the verse?
Rajavidya Rajaguhyam
Rajavidya Rajaguhyam
Pavitramidamuttamam
Pavitramidamuttamam
Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam
Pratikshavagamam Dharmayam
Susukham Kartum Avyayam.
Susukham Kartumavayam. Anyone else? Okay, so we'll go to word by word. Rajavidya,
Rajavidya,
the king of education.
the king of education.
Rajaguhyam,
Rajaguhyam,
the king of confidential knowledge.
the king of confidential knowledge.
Pavitram,
Pavitram,
the purest.
the purest.
Idam,
Idam,
this.
this.
Uttamam,
Uttama,
transcendental.
transcendental.
Pratyaksha,
Pratyaksha,
by direct experience.
by direct experience.
Avagamam,
Avagamam,
understood.
understood.
Dharmayam,
Dharmyam,
the principle of religion.
the principles of religion.
Susukham,
Susukham,
very happy.
very happy.
Kartum,
Kartum,
to execute.
to execute.
Avayam,
Avyayam,
everlasting.
everlasting.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So we'll read the translation by Professor Prabhupada. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfect of religion. It is everlasting and it is joyfully performed. This chapter of Bhagavad Gita is called the King of Education because it is the essence of all doctrines and philosophies explained before. Among the principal philosophers in India are Gautama, Kanada, Kapila, Yagnavalkya, Shandilya, and Vaishnava Nara. And finally, there is Vyasadeva, the author of the Vedanta Sutra. So there is no dearth of knowledge in the field of philosophy, transcendental knowledge. Now, the that this ninth chapter is the king knowledge, the essence of all knowledge that can be derived from the study of the Vedas and the different kinds of philosophy. It is the most confidential because confidential or transcendental knowledge involves understanding the difference between the soul and the body. And the king of all confidential knowledge culminates in devotional service. Generally, people are not educated in this confidential knowledge. They are educated in external knowledge. As far as ordinary education is concerned, people are involved with so many departments: politics, sociology, physics, chemistry, mathematics, astronomy, engineering, etc. There are so many departments of knowledge all over the world and many huge universities, but there is unfortunately no university or educational institution where the science of the spirit soul is instructed. Yet the soul is the most important part of the body. Without the presence of the soul, the body has no value. Still, people are placing great stress on the bodily necessities of life, not caring for the vital soul. The Bhagavad Gita, especially from the second chapter on, stresses the importance of the soul. In the very beginning, the Lord says that this body is perishable and that the soul is not perishable. Antavatima deha nitya sukta sharirina. That is a confidential part of the knowledge. Simply knowing that the spirit soul is different from this body and that its nature is immutable, indestructible, and eternal, but that gives no positive information about the soul. Sometimes people are under the impression that the soul is different from the body and that when the body is finished or one is liberated from the body, the soul remains in a void and becomes impersonal. But actually, that is not the fact. How can the soul, which is so active within this body, be inactive after being liberated from this body? It is always active. If it is eternal, then it is eternally active, and its activities in the spiritual kingdom are the most confidential part of spiritual knowledge. These activities of the spirit soul are therefore indicated here as constituting the king of all knowledge, the most confidential part of the knowledge. The knowledge, this knowledge is the purest form of all activities as explained in Vedic literature. In the Padma Purana, men's sinful activities have been analyzed and are shown to be the results of sin after sin. Those who are engaged in fruitive activities are entangled in different stages and forms of sinful reactions. For instance, when the seed of a particular tree is sown, the tree does not appear immediately to grow. It takes some time. It is first a small sprouting plant and then it assumes the form of a tree. Then it's flower and bears fruit. And when it is complete, the flower and fruit are enjoyed by person who have sown the seed of the tree. Similarly, a man performs a sinful act, and like a seed, it takes time to fructify. These are the different stages. The sinful action may have already stopped within the individual, but the results or the fruit of that sinful action are still to be enjoyed. There are sins which are still in the form of a seed, and there are others which are already fructified and are giving us fruits which we are enjoying as distress and pain. As explained in the 28th verse of the 7th chapter, a person who has completely ended the reaction of all sinful activities and who is fully engaged in pious activities, being freed from the duality of this material world, becomes engaged in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. In other words, those who are actually engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord are already freed from all reactions. This statement is confirmed in Padma Purana. Aprarabdha phalam papam kutam bijam phalonmukham kramaneva praliyeta Vishnu bhakti ratatmanam. For those who are engaged in the devotional service of the personality of Godhead, all sinful reactions, whether fructified in the stalk or in the form of a seed, gradually vanish. Therefore, the purifying potency of devotional service is very strong, and it is called Pavitram Uttamam, the purest. Uttama means transcendental. Tamas means the material world or darkness, and Uttama means that which is transcendental to material activities. Devotional activities are never to be considered material. Although sometimes it appears that a devotee are engaged just like an ordinary man, one who can see and is familiar with devotional service will know that there are no material activities. They are all spiritual and devotional, uncontaminated by the material modes of nature. It is said that the execution of devotional service is so perfect that one can perceive the result directly. This direct result is actually perceived. And when we have practical experience that any person who is chanting the holy name of Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, in course of chanting without offenses feels some transcendental pleasure and very quickly becomes purified of all material contamination. This is actually seen. Furthermore, if one engages not only in hearing but in trying to broadcast a message of devotional service as well, or if he engages himself in helping the missionary activities of Krishna consciousness, he gradually feels spiritual progress. This advancement in spiritual life does not depend on any kind of previous education or qualification. The method itself is so pure that by simply engaging in it, one becomes pure. In the Vedanta Sutra 3.2.26, this is also described in the following words: Prakashas Chakarmani Abhyasat. Devotional service is so potent that simply by engaging in the activities of devotional service, one becomes enlightened without a doubt. A practical example of this can be seen in the previous life of Narada Muni, who in that life happened to be the son of a maidservant. He had no education, nor was he born into a high family. But when his mother was engaged in serving great devotees, Narada also became engaged, and sometimes, in the absence of his mother, he would serve the great devotee himself. Narada personally says, Uchishta anumodito dija sakrit sma punjet tatapasata kilbisha evam evam pravartasya vishuddha chetasas tadharma evatmana ruchi prajayate. In this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.25, Narada describes his previous life to his disciple Vyasadeva. He says that while engaged as a boy servant for those purified devotees during the 4th month of their stay, he was intimately associating with them. Sometimes those sages left remnants of food on their dishes, and the boy who would wash their dishes wanted to taste the remnants. So he asked the great devotees for their permission. And when they gave it, Narada ate those remnants and consequently became freed from all sinful reactions. As he went on eating, he gradually became as pure-hearted as the sages. The great devotees relished the taste of unceasing devotional service to the Lord by hearing and chanting, and Narada gradually developed the same taste. Narada further says, Tantanavaham Krishna Katha Pragahayataham Anugrahena Ashravanam Manohara Taha Shraddaya Me Anupadam Krishnanvataha Priyashravasi Anga Mama Bhavahat Ruchi. By associating with the sages, Narada got the taste for chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord, and he developed a great desire for devotional service. Therefore, as described in the Vedanta Sutra, Prakashas Chakarmani Apyasat, if one is engaged simply in the act of devotional service, everything is revealed to him automatically, and he can understand that it is called Pratyaksha, directly perceived. The word Dharmayam means the path of religion. Narada was actually a son of a maidservant. He had no opportunity to go to school. He was simply assisting his mother. And fortunately, his mother rendered some service to the devotees. The child Narada also got the opportunity and simply by association achieved the highest goals of our religion. The highest goal of our religion is devotional service. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Savepam Samparo Dharmo Yator Bhakti Yatokjashe. Religious people generally do not know that the highest perfection of religion is the attainment of devotional service. As we have already discussed in regards to the last verse of 8th chapter, Vedeshu Agneshu Tapeshu Cheva. Generally, Vedic knowledge is required for self-realization, but here, although Narada never went to the school of the spiritual master and was not educated in Vedic principle, he acquired the highest result of Vedic study. This process is so potent that even without performing the religious process regularly, one can be raised to the highest perfection. How is this possible? This is also confirmed in Vedic literature. Acharyavan Purusho Veda, one who is in the association with great acharyas, even if he is not educated or has never studied the Vedas, can become familiar with all the knowledge necessary for realization. The process of devotional service is a very happy one. Sukham. Why? Devotional service consists of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. So one can simply hear the chanting of the glories of the Lord or can attend philosophical lectures on transcendental knowledge given by the authorized acharyas. Simply by sitting, one can learn. Then one can eat the remnants of the food offered to the Lord. Nice palatable dishes. In every state, devotional service is joyful. One can execute devotional service even in the most poverty-stricken condition. Lord says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. He is ready to accept from the devotee any kind of offering, never mind what, even a leaf, a flower, a bit of fruit, or a little water, which are all available in every part of the world, can be offered by any person regardless of social position and will be accepted if offered with love. There are many instances in history simply by tasting the tulsi leaves offered to the lotus feet of the Lord. Great sages like Sanat Kumar became great devotees. Therefore, the devotional service is very nice and it can be executed in a happy mood. God accepts only the love with which the things are offered to him. It is said here that this devotional service is eternally existing. It is not as the Mayavada philosophers claims. Although they sometimes take to so-called devotional service, their idea is that as long as they are not liberated, they'll continue the devotional service. But at the end, when they become liberated, they will become one with God. Such temporary time serving devotional service is not accepted as pure devotional service. Actual devotional service continues even after liberation. When the devotee goes to the spiritual platform in the kingdom of Godhead, he is also engaged there in serving the Supreme Lord. He does not try to become one with the Lord. As will be seen in Bhagavad Gita, actual devotional service begins after liberation. After one is liberated, when one is situated in the Brahman position, Brahma Bhuta, one devotional service begins. Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktim Labate Param. No one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by executing Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, or any other yoga independently. By these yogic methods, one may make a little progress towards Bhakti Yoga, but without coming to the stage of devotional service, one cannot understand what is the personality of Godhead. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also confirmed that when one becomes purified by executing the process of devotional service, especially by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita from the realized souls, then he can understand the signs of Krishna or the signs of God. Evam prasana manasoho bhagavad bhakti yogataha. When one's heart is cleared of all nonsense, then one can understand what God is. Thus, process of devotional service or Krishna consciousness is the king of all education and the king of all confidential knowledge. It is the purest form of religion and it can be executed joyfully without difficulty. Therefore, one should adopt it. So very elaboratory. Prabhupada explained everything, each and every word of this verse. So what was the verse? Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam. So Pavitram, Idam Uttamam, right? So let us try to discuss this verse, what Prabhupada says about this verse. So Raja Vidya. So what does Raja Vidya means? Raj means Raja, right? In Hindi or Sanskrit, Raja means a king and Vidya means education. So it has been mentioned that this devotional service is the king of all knowledge, right? as a king is in the entire kingdom, right? King will be the very important person, as in the states, United States, president will be the most important person, right? So similarly, out of all type of knowledge, this devotional service, the knowledge about the devotional service is the Rajavidya, is the king of all knowledge. And it is most confidential. Why? Because lot of people, even though they know, or even though they say we have read all the verses of Bhagavad Gita, but they are not able to understand and implement the Bhagavad Gita in their life. That's why it is called the Guhyam. Guhyam means very confidential. Only it will be revealed, right? Because it's very confidential. It's not disclosed to the common man, right? As Krishna says in this, I think, 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Naham Prakasha Sarvasa. So I reserve the right that I do not want to disclose myself to any people, right? Sometimes people say, show me God, but God himself says in his right, Bhagavad Gita is the Vani of the Lord. So he himself says that I reserve the right that I do not want to be revealed to these classes, to these atheistic classes, right? So when we want to know the God, there is a process. Like if you want to meet a president of the United States or Prime Minister of India, then there will be some process you have to go through. It's not like, yeah, I want to meet and I can meet. No, that's not possible. So here's God is not something cheap that we can achieve just by saying, show me God. Or if I give you $50 mantra, then I can, you can see God in that mantra or something, right? It's the most confidential knowledge, and it's very secret knowledge. So what happens? In 7th chapter, Krishna says, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyante Vasudevam Sarvamiti Sahmatma Sudurlabha. So that verse in 19th verse says that after many, many births, one can cultivate that knowledge, that Vasudevam Sarvamitim, that only Vasudeva is the all in all, right? Is the cause of all causes. Ishvara Parma Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karan. So who is the cause of all causes? It's only Krishna, right? So it is being revealed after many, 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 many births. So that's why it is called a Rajavidya. It's a devotional service. And what happens if somebody read this verse of Bhagavad Gita? Let's say if somebody gets Bhagavad Gita, or they're trying to understand the Bhagavad Gita from devotees, then when they read this verse of Bahunam Janmanamante, then they should think this. See, it takes a lot of time to understand. Lot of pious Sukruti should be there. The previous life Sukruti should be there to understand the message of God, to understand what devotees are, trying to discuss. So then if once read, and if they surrender at that time to Krishna, that means it's a perfect knowledge, right? So so long we are not surrendered to Krishna, it's very difficult for us to understand Krishna, right? Because the who will be the topmost yogi is topmost yogi, Krishna is already described in which chapter? Can anybody let me know who is the topmost yogi according to Krishna, and which chapter did we discuss that? Okay. So in the 6th chapter, if we remember the last verse of 6th chapter, Yogi Namapi Sarvesham Matkatena Antaratmana. So that verse Krishna says, whoever constantly engage and fix his mind, that is a perfect yogi. So yogi means a bhakti yogi is a perfect yogi, right? So we have to surrender everything to Krishna. We have to understand that this is the devotional service is all in all. It's the most confidential knowledge, and it's a king of all knowledge. This, as Prabhupada is saying in the verse when we read, that see, there is a difference, right? Whatever activities we are trying to perform, we are trying to please Krishna. After we leave this body and when we get our spiritual body, it may take 1 life, 2 life, depending upon our surrender. So what happens when we go to the spiritual word of the Lord, then we are going to perform the activities centered around Krishna. So similarly, we are practicing that in the material life, so that we feel better situated in that position, right? So That's how we have to try to surrender to Krishna. So because all the spiritual activities which you do, they are all related to the soul. They are not perished with the body. So let's talk about the account balance, or talk about maybe you have 100 pairs of clothes or 200 pairs of clothes. Nothing will go with, we have 4 cars, right? 4 house, 4, nothing will go with us. These all are the material things. Why they are material? Because if they are not material, then why we are not able to continue them with our journey, right? So what happens, since first we have to understand we are not this body, we are soul, we are soul, we are soul, and once our lease or term will be ended in this body, then anyhow we have to go to our next destination. How much ever we cry, how much ever other cries for us, that doesn't matter. We have to continue. That's the hard truth of the life, right? So everybody has to continue past their journey to the next life. So that's how that importance of the right. So Krishna talks about the activities of the soul in this, or the characteristics of the soul, and also the activities of the soul in chapter second itself. So he say Daino Asmin Yatha Deh, and there are multiple verses, which says that we are not this body, we are soul, and what is the nature of the soul, right? It cannot be cut, it cannot be burned. All those verses are there, series of verses. So those verses help us understand that we have to perform the spiritual activities. What happens when we perform spiritual activities? Those goes with us. In 240, Krishna says, Neha Vikramo Nashvasti Pratyavayuna Vidyate. So that verse says that whatever activity will be performed, that will save us from the most dangerous fear. And Prabhupada talked that what is the most dangerous fear is to glide down from the human form of life. Because you see, when we when any one of us get the animal body, when we don't utilize our human form in the service of the Lord, if we want to understand, we can understand it this way. Let's say we have been went to a conference, and there we had to talk about our project, or maybe some discussion about our project, or whatever we went to for that business. But we don't talk about that, and we just go here and there, roam here and there, and just pass the 2 days and come back. The company will ask, what did you discuss, and what is the benefit we are getting from that conference, right? So we are not able to explain. So similarly, that trip has been organized so that we can nicely discuss there about our project, and then we can come back and explain. But what did we do? We did not utilize that time for the purpose which I have been sent there, right? So similarly here, Krishna has sent us or given us an opportunity of human birth. There we have to talk about Krishna, hear about Krishna, and we have to try to understand his message. See, because this kind of activity I cannot explain to a dog or a hog or a cow, right? An animal species, we cannot, they don't have the intelligence to learn or understand, right? We have, human being have the intelligence to even question why this is happening to me. And I want to live eternally, but why I'm not able to live eternally in this life, right? So there is definitely eternal life, but that's not something this is the wrong place where we are searching. So we get the knowledge from Bhagavad Gita, right? Rajavidya Rajagoyam. So first of all, to understand this knowledge, what happens, right? We have to try to engage our mind in the service of Krishna, right? So all of us knows about Samrish Maharaj. So Amrish Maharaj, how did he engage his mind in the service of the Lord? He engaged his mind always thinking about the Lord. He used his feet to go to the temple of the Lord, engaged with his hand in the cleaning of the temple of the Lord. So everything, right? So everything he has done to engage. So that's how it is happening. So Prabhupada also talks about, if you see right here, the standard of living is much higher than if you compare to India or any other country of the world, right? So these European and Prabhupada's earlier disciple and American disciple, how they are able to leave all these comforts. And they were staying, we know, in Mayapur, what situation were they, and in the earlier, and in the Bombay when they were trying to establish this temple. So that they didn't have any comfort, but how they are happy. Su Sukham Kartum Abhyam, because this gives the joy. All of us are looking for a joy, and this is the, and this knowledge or this devotional service or performance of a devotional service gives us the eternal joy, internal and eternal joy, right? So joy is nothing I can go and buy from shop, right? You go buy thousands of things, at the end of the day you will be not happy. So but this internally we have to look for the happiness, because internally it has been available for us. So that's how they are able to live, right? They're able to live this so materially so-called standard life, right? But because everybody wants to live materially also comfortable, but they are able to leave everything because they are definitely getting the higher taste by executing the devotional service of the Lord, right? So, and it is also the direct perception, right? If you see, because they are feeling happiness, and all of us also might have some experience about ourselves. I would like to ask if anybody wants to share, uh, if they're chanting, what did they feel after chanting? Maybe you're chanting for a year, 2 year, maybe 6 months. If they want to share, how do they feel when they chant the holy name of the Lord? Is there any difference of what you were 2 years back, 2 months back, or maybe 7 years back? Can anybody like to share, so that I am not just keep talking? You're also sharing something. What's the difference we are all noticing after chanting? Everybody is sleeping in my class, I think, because I am not a very, very good speaker. Yes, Mataji, you want to?
I think nobody wants to share because you're such a good speaker. I want to keep hearing and hearing and hearing from you.
No, Prabhu, you.
But okay, let Mataji go, and then I'll go, and then you get it. So many, everybody will share.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, Mataji, chill Mataji, want to say?
Yeah, I was going to say for me, I guess it's the association and being with everybody online or in person. And plus, remember, I was part of your classes at your home too. So it's all a matter of progression. And it's just like it's almost like what I call a runner's high. It's like I can't stop thinking about it. It's like gotta continue just thinking about Krishna and just doing what I need to do throughout the day. That's my guess.
Thank you, Mataji, for sharing. Nice, you just, when you try, when you start this process, then you just keep thinking, even if you forget, we have to keep thinking about Krishna. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Kuaku, Prabhu, you want to go next?
Yes. So for me, honestly, recently my body's gone through a whole lot of spiritual changes. When I chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. As I even just did it right now, it's just, maybe in the past I just didn't pay attention to things as much, but and I don't even think it's a matter of paying attention. It's just what the words are and what it does inside me. Just physically, not to even move to the next level. My body feels different inward when I chant it. Mentally, it's great for me. I don't know what psychological effects it really has, but I know that it's great. It sticks in my mind. I'm able to keep going with it. And for me, it gives a great great deal of concentration, and it helps mental development and all that. And on the spiritual level, I think, it brings me, the name sits in my subconscious, and it brings me closer to Krishna, makes me want to go contemplate on his teachings more, makes me want to go read or listen to the Bhagavad Gita and gain more insight and reflection out of it. So that's, some of the things. I could keep going on probably.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you. Very well said and very well realized as well. So chanting helps you in hearing and, keep hearing and listening about the Lord, and chanting also helps, not even spiritually, chanting also helps us materially to keep ourselves calm, right? So we see we are a little different person what we were maybe 5 years back, or whenever we start, whenever we have started chanting. So we notice the difference. Why? Because there is a purification which is happening in ourselves, because Krishna's name is not different from Krishna. And Krishna is the purest, and this knowledge is also the purest. That's why we are getting purified. We can get purified even by chanting one Krishna's name, but we have committed a lot of sins that, and we don't chant that purely. But even though we don't chant purely, the Lord's name is all pure, and it's keep working on us, right? As you know, as there is one example has been given, when we try to clean a house, let's say you have entered in that house maybe 2 months, 3 months after, and let's say there is a lot of pollution outside, so there will be a lot of dust in your home. But as we have entered the home, we might not be able to see that dust, right? We'll be thinking everything looks good, but when you start cleaning the table or the television or your bed or something or anything, right? So you will see there is a lot of dust accumulated. So similarly for us, earlier, we were not even thinking that we have a lot of dust accumulated as our Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moho, Mad, Matsarya, like 6 kind of dust in our consciousness. Now, by chanting the holy name, as we to take the broom or take a cloth to clean that house, then we'll be seeing a lot of the places to be cleaned up, right? It might, you all have noticed that you start cleaning one shelf, you think, okay, this is also dirty, I have to clean this, and that, because everything is kind of a dirty. So this chanting is called like a brooming of a room. So Cheto Darpana Marjanam, it will clean our consciousness. At least now we know that we have so many anarthas. Earlier we were thinking we are all fine, we don't need anything. But very, very well said, Prabhu. Anybody wants to go next, please? They want to share? We got 2, but if anybody is ready to share, then we can hear. If not, then we'll continue. Okay, so we'll continue as it says Pavitram, right? That word Pavitram, and it is direct perception, right? Every one of us, Pratyaksha Avagamam. So Pratyaksha Avagamam means it's a direct experience. We all experiencing, as we all shared, right? Jill Mataji shared, Koaku shared, and I'm sure all of us in the call have that experience, but it's just that we are not sharing. But we all have that experience. That's why we are coming and hearing, or we are chanting the holy name of the Lord. So it is very, very purifying. And it is also directly we are perceiving the changes in ourselves, as all of us has discussed. So that's the Pratyaksha Avagamam. So we have already know about that, because we all have experience about that direct perception of the devotional service, right? And what's the next word says? Pratyakshavagamam dharmyam and sasu sukham kartum avyam. So it is very, very joyfully performed. So what is the bhakti process, right? We are not losing anything. So why we are not losing anything? Because we are also dancing, as maybe other people are dancing in the club. We are dancing in the Lord's temple, right? So we are also dancing, we are also singing, we are also honoring very nice prasadam that is offered. Bhoga, first we make bhoga, then we offer, then it becomes prasadam and we enjoy it, right? So that kind of activity, all of the things we are doing, right? It is not something that I have to do something different than this to do a recreation. So Prabhupada says that recreation. Our complete process, our Krishna consciousness is entirely a recreational process, right? We don't have to, like, let's say if somebody is working and they need some break, so they'll go for 2 or 3 days holidays, right? So that's a recreation. But we don't want, even if you go for a leave or maybe some other places, you might be doing the same thing, or you might be visiting the places which are related to the Lord. So it's a so sukham, it's very, very easily be performed, right? So this knowledge is very, very easily be performed. So there is one pastime which I can share, that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, as we all of us know, that he was earlier Mayavad. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita. And what happens, right, when bhakti, he was a logician. He was not kind of a bhakti yogi or a bhakta. So what happened at one time, right, Chaitanya, when he got the bhakti, he got the bhakti from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was very much pleased with him. So he composed a lot of verses, and one of the verses I would like to quote from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, 6th chapter, 254 words. Vairagya Vidya Nij Bhakti Yoga Shikshartameka Purusha Purana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Sharira Dhari Kripabdhiryastamaham prapatye. So he's saying, you are coming. So who is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Is Krishna himself. But what he is coming to give us, he's coming to give us Vairagya Vidya, Vairagya Vidya. So when we get the actual knowledge, right? When we get the actual Vidya is not this Jada Vidya. Actual Vidya is the knowledge about the devotional service, or the king of all knowledge. So when we get that bhakti, then we automatically get detached from this material world. So our priorities will change. Earlier we wanted to go to here, there, there, there. Now it will all change, because we are automatically be detached from this material world. We cannot be idle. Prabhupada always says that we are not stone. We all, if I am stone, then I'll be not having any desire. But if I'm a living person, I am a soul, then definitely I have a desire. So that desire cannot be completely stopped, but it can be dovetailed to Krishna's service. So means getting the vairagya, detachment from the material life, but getting similarly at the same time getting attached to the bhakti yoga. So you came as Sri Krishna Chaitanya Shariradhari. You came, you took the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and you came by a Kripa Amdhir. You are very merciful, Vishnu, and you came to give that bhakti yoga to us, so that we can also learn how to surrender to the Lord. So very, very wonderful verse. And it has been mentioned he was a very great Sanskrit scholar. And then afterwards he wrote this verse, is very famous, from Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. But it has been mentioned that Pratap Rudra Maharaj, who was the king of Odisha, and under him Ramananda Raya used to work. Ramananda Raya is another great devotee of the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And once in Jagannath Puri, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya got the devotional service of the Lord. He understood the highest position of Ramananda Raya. Earlier they were in the, he was a royal scholar, logician of the same court of that king, and Ramananda Raya also working there. So earlier when they used to have the discussion, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya never could understand the exalted or elevated position of Ramananda Raya. But when he, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he got the beach of as the seed of bhakti, then he was able to understand. That's how he, he says that when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was visiting the South India tour, then he says, or the tour towards the India. So he says that you, oh my Lord, you please go and meet Ramananda Raya in the banks of maybe some place, he says, and there you meet, because he's a very exalted devotee. Earlier he was not able to understand. Only when he got that devotee's mercy, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, then only he was able to understand the position of the Lord. So this bhakti yoga is very, very simple to perform, right? So Prahlad Maharaj also says how it can be performed: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atmanivedanam, right? So we just have to hear about the Lord or chant about the Lord, or we have to remember about the Lord, serve the lotus feet of the Lord. These are the 9 process of devotional service that has been, talked about. And there should not be, as you, when we were reading the purport of Srila Prabhupada, there he says that any part of the word can perform the devotional service of the Lord. It is not related to, this is called eternal religion. This is not something Hindu religion or Muslim religion or maybe Christianity or anything. This is related to soul. Soul is universal. So Bhagavad Gita is universal. Sometimes people have doubt about the Bhagavad Gita. They think it's a Hindu literature. No, it is the Sanatan Dharma literature. So because any one of in the world can perform this Bhakti Yoga. And Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, as Prabhupada talked in the words, anywhere of the part of the world you will have flower or a fruit or a leaf or water, and that too also we are getting from the Lord. Bhumi apo naravayu khammano buddhi evacha. So Bhumi, earth, apo, nalo vayu, right? Earth, water, fire, air, ether. These are the energy of the Lord, and from that only we are getting, and that too Lord is asking to offer to him. Is it something that Krishna lacks in his spiritual world? No. This is something why Lord is recommending us, so that we get purified, so that we can get purified as soon as possible and can reach the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, right? So that's why. And there is no consideration of that you should be a Brahmana or you should be born to that caste of that caste father or this caste father. Anyone, Kiba Vipra, Kiba Shudra Nashi, Kena Kanae, Yei Krishna Tattva Veda Sahi Guru Hots. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself says, see, it doesn't matter that if you are a Grahastha or you are a Brahmana or you are a Shudra or any part, or even born in a dog-eater family, anybody can become the Guru. The qualification is only, what is the qualification needed? That you should know Krishna in Tattva. Then you can become. So as we know, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met Ramananda Raya, he was a Grahastha. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu already took sannyas. So in terms of social order, we think that sannyasa is higher, right? It's usually, right? Sannyasa is higher than Grahastha. But he was very much hesitant. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, it's not that you should be hesitant. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, sometimes what happens, right? When we want to ask a question, we think that person is maybe no more than me, right? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. Is encouraging Ramananda Raya to answer his question, right? So he wants to show that it doesn't matter about the ashrama. We should not be more emphasize, he's a grahastha, he's fallen, he's a sannyasi, he's most elevated, like that. Because only the surrender matters. Because as we know, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, right, our great Acharya, Srila Prabhupada's Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's father, right? Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's very, very elevated devotee of the Lord. And he was a Grahastha, and he had 10 children. And then also he was performing, and he has written a lot of over hundreds of Vaishnava songs. So he was able to do everything, right? But he was a Grahastha, so that doesn't matter. The surrender, the surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord that mentioned. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu here is taking instruction to just show us that it doesn't matter. The surrender to the Lord matters. That's Krishna Tattva Veda. Really, we are Krishna conscious. Transcendental position does matter, right? So once we are transcendently situated, then we will attain to this Bhakti Yoga. So I think I would like to take a pause or stop here for this verse, because I think this is pretty much has been discussed. We can discuss other things, but I think not much time left now. So Susukham Kartum Avyayam. So I would request that this is very, very joyfully performed service, and we should also perform it very nicely. We can perform it anyway, hearing, chanting, listening, going to the temple. So these are the some ways by which we can perform the devotional service. Honoring the prasadam also is a devotional service. Cooking for the Lord is also devotional service. So there are different aspects of the devotional service which can be performed. Teaching kids are also a devotional service, right? Sometimes we think that taking care of the kids, sometimes we have this doubt, right? Taking care of the kids might not be considered a devotional service, but that's the highest devotional service, because Prabhupada says, one time this happened when one of the mother pujari, she was leaving her very small child and going to perform the deity service. Then Prabhupada says, no, the young mother should not do that, because if somebody is taking care, that's good in the family. But if nobody is there, then we cannot just, leave them or ignore them and just do the service. That is not recommended, because these kids are really special. And if, we have to take care of them. Even we have to nurture our society so that these kids, when they become young, then they can take that responsibility on their shoulder. Hopefully, right? We want to pray that to every kid of the congregation, right? So I will stop here. If anybody has anything to share, they can share. Or if not, then we'll end here.
I have a question. So when we say, because I know English sometimes it's a little confusing. I'm driving, so I apologize if you hear the GPS. But when we say devotional service, right? In the 4 paths of yoga, as Bhakti and other paths, which one does devotional service fall under?
Bhakti yoga.
Bhakti yoga is devotional service.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And from my understanding of devotional service, I stand corrected, but let me know if I'm wrong. You do this action as a sacrifice, and then you sacrifice the reward as well. Is that correct?
Yes, so there are different ways, right? There is a direct devotional service and there is a indirect devotional service. So direct devotional service means engaging directly in the service of the Lord, maybe doing the arati to the Lord, singing for the Lord, dancing for the Lord. But maybe sometime, right, if we should have definitely time to our sadhana and doing a normal, devotional service to the Lord. But even if somebody don't have, right, they think that they are so busy, then they can sacrifice the results, right? Everybody of in this world, they are working. If they think that they don't have, then sacrificing that results also is the part of the devotional service. That's indirect, right? That's not, yeah.
So Mataji, question, how do you define sacrificing the results or the action?
Yeah, sacrificing of the result could be anything, right? We are so what do we do with our time, right? We like, let's say you want to give your example, like you work, right? So when you work, you sacrifice your time for that work, right? So out of that sacrificing of your time to do that work of office or any job, you get some salary, right? So when you get some salary, that sacrificing of that part of that salary could be a devotional service, because see, you are sacrificing the time to work, but now you are parting it with Krishna. So that's how it is, right? When you buy something for in the family member, it means you love them, right? Similarly, if we love Krishna, we partake our sacrifice, right? Because we have sacrificed our time to earn that money. But when we part that money with Krishna, that means we are a little bit progressing in the devotional service. Of that sacrifice can be dependent upon the devotee surrender, how much they want to do. It's not something can impose on anybody, right? That can be done according to everyone's situation is different, so accordingly. So that can be one sacrifice. And the other kind of sacrifice is maybe on Sundays, right? We can go some other places also, right? But we sacrifice that tendency of going some other places, maybe to a place of a friend. If we are going to a friend's place is also fine, but see, if every week we are going, I don't think so every week is required to meet with a friend, right? You have met with the same friend. So that kind of sacrifice also we can do, and we come to the temple. So we sacrifice our that timing, which we can utilize in another way. But that sacrifice is very, very, very beneficial to us, because spiritually we are going to get benefited by going to the temple, partake in there will be what we'll be doing. We'll be honoring prasadam, or maybe we'll be helping somewhere in the temple, or maybe we are singing in the kirtan. So that's a sacrifice of time. We sacrifice it here for Krishna, right? If somebody is thinking as a sacrifice, initially it could be a sacrifice. For a devotee, it's not. But initially, oh, you want to go to shopping mall? No, but I drag you to the temple. So that will be a sacrifice for you, right? If I say no Kuafu, you have to come to the temple. So that might be a sacrifice for you. But when you get habituated, that might not be a sacrifice for you, right? So sacrifice could be any type, like a time or partake of your results of your actions. I hope I am able to answer, Prabhu. If you have anything to add.
Yeah, I appreciate the answer. I think the way you described it is correct. However, it addresses more the ritualistic aspect of the statement. I think the statement goes beyond the material realm to the mental and spiritual realm, in the sense that basically the underlining, my understanding of the statement in a basic form is of sacrificing the reward is being unattached to the results of the actions, and using, to the extent that you are able to use it for the benefit and welfare of people who need it. And that is the highest service of Krishna,
But,
being able to, you are
but
not, if you're keeping your money and coming to serve it at the temple and doing things for Krishna with the temple, and people around you who really need it are hungry and suffering, that's not what Krishna expects of you to do. He wants you to, make sure that you're being kind. His teachings are being followed in the real world, and then also, being of service to him in the ritualistic manner in the temple. So, and my basis for coming to that conclusion of being unattached to the results is, Lord Krishna gives a lot of explanations in the Bhagavad Gita for that, in places where he talks about, you have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you do not have a right to the results. And, you do not have a right to the results is just saying that be unattached, because if you decide that you want to have a right to it, you're going to be the one that's suffering for making that choice. You know what I mean? And
yeah, I understand.
that's kind of my understanding.
Yeah, you're correct. But so helping the people could be the spiritual way, and as well as materially. So let's say if the person is hungry, so what you can do to satisfy the hunger of this person, you can supply a plate of food, right? But if you want to really help this person, we should not just supply a plate of food, but we should supply a plate of prasadam. When the food is offered to the Lord, then this person materially, his hunger will go down, at least for a couple of hours, right? He'll definitely feel hungry again, right? Even if you give him food, or if you give him prasadam. But if you give him prasadam, then he is making a spiritual progress there. His entrance to the spiritual kingdom might have been increased because you have given a chance to honor Prasadam of the Lord. So on that note, I would like to stop because it's already 8:01. Vancha kalpataru.
Great. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhayaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta koti Vaishnavinda ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Thank you all for joining. Hare Krishna.